You know, while I was digging through the old box of games, there was one that caught my eye, in particular. Brother in Arms, Hell's Highway. This game I remember playing a lot when I was younger, but at that moment I was too young to really understand that it is more than an FPS. So here's our short look at Brother in Arms, Hell's Highway. So what made it stand out from other FPSs? Well, in most games you're one-man army, this is not one of those games. This game puts you in the role of a leader that is named Matt Baker. In this game, you will utilize 4 types of squads. You have your base of fire, rocket, machine gun, and assault squads. Each squad has its own specialty and role, and while at the beginning of the game you only have 1 squad, in the end, you will have 3 squads to manage. I think the great part about this game, though, is these tactics that I'm about to tell you are actually real. If you didn't know, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, for about 6 months, 7 months about, and, well, I learned about the infantry MOS. And to say this game is very realistic with it is an understatement. So, one mechanic that this game has is suppression. When you run into an enemy squad, you'll see this giant red circle that'll tell you mainly 2 things. What type of squad it is, and then what their status is. In this game, you can shoot at enemy squads and turn their circle gray. This is called suppression. When an enemy is suppressed, they shoot way less and their accuracy is close to the stormtroopers from Star Wars. And this is a real-life tactic. The idea is that you take 2 squads, one suppresses, the other moves up, then they suppress and the other squad moves up. It's called bounding Overwatch, and this game does it actually really well. This is the whole idea of the game, is taking the certain squads you have and utilizing them in their certain roles. For example, a machine gunner's role is to suppress, where an assault squad is supposed to move close range to the enemy and get within frag grenade distance. Now, the gameplay Brother in Arms feels oddly satisfying in the way that coordinating groups to have enemies be flanked. The overall weapons feel balanced and have all your World War II classics. And you can utilize grenades as well. And the cover system is your simple Gears of War style. There's this great system where if you kill enemies with explosions or headshots, you get this awesome slow-mo, and yeah, limbs go flying. Speaking of, the enemies in this game they're alright. There's a couple cases where they use bounding Overwatch for each other, but for the most part, it's the same over and over again, where they just stay in one spot. One detail I do like is that some of the ways they shoot their weapons, it shows that they have close to little training. Whether this was because of how the game was made at the time, or if this was actually supposed to be lore friendly, I don't know. Now, I say at the beginning of the video that this game is more of an FPS, but the further I look more into it, it's a playable movie. A lot of the really big scenes are in cutscenes. Where, yes, while a cutscene is meant to highlight something, this was done with more purpose and intent behind it. And this game has a lot of scenes that could hardly be justified use today, just because of how brutal they are. I don't want to spoil too much of the conflict with the leader, Matt Baker, but I will say there's one part where Matt Baker, and I believe it's Red, are arguing about what the lieutenant colonel did.
Why would he do that? Why would he do something so goddamn reckless?
He saved a lot of lives, Red.
And now how many will die because he isn't around to lead them? It's not about one battle, man.
Would you prefer he was still around with nothing to lead instead? What's the life of one officer worth to you? 20 men? 40?
You know damn well I value.
Everything all right here?
Now, in the army, there's a thing called delegation, when a higher rank would send a lower rank, like me, to go and do a more trivial task. Because if the higher rank dies, it's more of a loss than me dying. The lieutenant colonel, though, decided that he would do the job himself, and he gets killed by a sniper. And it leads into this really interesting argument between Matt Baker and Red, where Red is basically saying, now people are going to have him there to lead them. And Matt Baker responds with, would you rather him not have any people to lead? It's this great moral conundrum.
Then there was a crack.
And the game is full of these. It's hard to emphasize how many there is, but the cutscenes are great. The best part I would say about these cutscenes is Matt Baker's eyes. It's weird. When you compare his eyes to other characters, Matt Baker's eyes there's a lot of loss and sadden in them, and it's surprisingly nice to see. This is it for talking about this game. The main reason it's so short and sweet is because This is a game that is amazing to experience. And now that I played it again, it really hits hard. The humor between the squads and the camaraderie, just to have unexpected moments to happen. It's rough.
You spend more time on your back than Paddock's sister. Fuck you, Red!
What did you guys like about Brother in Arms if you already played it? Or if you haven't played it, what show has you watched that really represents the idea of camaraderie?